When Melody Shari met Hill Harper, it looked like the perfect alignment of two powerful forces. But months later, she's breaking her silence with just 8 words that have the internet on fire. He wasn't who I thought he was. What happened behind the scenes to turn admiration into betrayal? And why is this story threatening to crack Hill Harper's polished image wide open? Let's pull back the curtain because the truth is far messier than anyone imagined. When Melody Shari first met Hill Harper, the pairing felt like destiny, too many too accomplished, respected figures whose energy seemed to sync effortlessly. On the surface, it was all warmth, charm, and picture-perfect moments, but behind the polished smiles, an entirely different story was quietly unfolding. Now, Melody is speaking out, and her words cut deep. He wasn't who I thought he was. What could possibly have gone wrong between the former love and marriage? Huntsville star and the award-winning actor to leave her feeling this betrayed. If you've followed Melody for any length of time, you know she doesn't step into public drama without purpose. She's endured heartbreak in the spotlight, watched trusted business relationships crumble, and navigated the painful unraveling of close friendships, all while maintaining her composure. But this time, her frustration isn't aimed at an ex-husband, a reality TV rival, or even someone from her inner circle. It's directed squarely at Hill Harper. Yes, that Hill Harper, the Harvard-educated actor, activist, and politician celebrated for his intellect, advocacy, and polished reputation as the ultimate gentleman. So what happened? Why is Melody breaking her silence now? And what truly unfolded behind the scenes that shattered her trust? Today, we're pulling back the curtain, tracing the timeline of their connection, revisiting subtle warning signs that most people completely overlooked, and uncovering the pivotal moment that made Melody realize she'd been misled from the start. By the time you hear it all, you'll understand why this story is sparking a firestorm online, and why Hill Harper's carefully crafted image may not emerge from this unscathed. And here's the twist. Some of what I've uncovered suggests this tension has been simmering far longer than anyone realized. In truth, the tension may have been quietly building for months before Melody ever chose to speak out. But before we dig into the receipts, let's rewind to the very beginning. Melody Shari has never been just another reality TV personality. Beyond her role on Love and Marriage, Huntsville, she's built a reputation as a sharp-minded entrepreneur who can weather the storm of public life without losing her grace. Her intelligence, business savvy, and unshakable composure have made her stand out in a world where both drama and downfall are common currency. Hill Harper's path couldn't look more different on paper. Known to millions for his work on CSI, NY and The Good Doctor, he's also an accomplished author, activist, and political voice. The polished intellectual, the eloquent advocate, the man who wears multiple hats and seems to pull each one off effortlessly. Two worlds, two distinct public images, completely separate industries. So how did they end up in each other's orbit? According to insiders, their initial connection had nothing to do with romance, at least not publicly. Their paths crossed at a charity event where Melody was delivering a keynote address. Hill wasn't there as an actor or a politician, but as a guest speaker championing economic empowerment in minority communities. Those who were there remember the moment vividly. Their conversation, warm, animated, and deeply engaging, stretched close to half an hour. In the high-speed world of high-profile events, that's practically a lifetime. Not long after, the two reportedly kept in touch. Social media watchers began spotting the signs, a strategically timed like here, an encouraging comment there. It wasn't much at first, just enough to catch the eye of those who pay attention. While both remained publicly consumed with their own demanding careers. In the months that followed, Melody was busy expanding her brand in the wake of her divorce, while Hill balanced an already full-plate acting commitments, book projects, and an increasingly visible push into politics. On the surface, their occasional private conversations felt harmless enough. But as those exchanges deepened, Melody began to notice a version of Hill that didn't quite match the public image. One close associate puts it this way: it was like he wore a different mask for every room he walked into. And if there's one thing Melody doesn't do, it's ignore a red flag. That early stage, what friends now call the friendly connection phase, may have looked perfectly innocent to outsiders. But it quietly laid the groundwork for what would later become a total collapse of trust. At first, the rapport between them seemed uplifting. Two high-profile figures sharing ideas, trading encouragement, and exchanging motivational messages. But Melody has lived enough to know that not everyone reveals their real self right away. And according to those close to her, it wasn't long before subtle signs of trouble began to surface. The first hint came during what was supposed to be an exciting brainstorming session. Hill allegedly approached her about a joint project, a venture centered on entrepreneurship and financial literacy. On paper, it was a flawless fit. Both had strong brands, wide-reaching audiences, and reputations for empowering others. What Melody didn't realize then was that this collaboration would become one of the earliest moments to shift her perception of Hill and plant the seeds of doubt she couldn't ignore. On the surface, the joint project Hill proposed seemed like a natural fit to respected figures with strong brands, large followings, and credibility in their fields joining forces on entrepreneurship and financial literacy, but as Melody looked closer, she noticed an imbalance. The arrangement appeared to benefit Hill far more than it would her. One insider described it bluntly, saying it felt as though he wanted to tap into her audience without offering anything of equal value in return. Soon after, the first cracks began to show. Hill was set to appear in a virtual panel Melody was moderating, something she had promoted heavily and even highlighted to her fans. But at the last minute, he backed out, citing a scheduling conflict. With another high-profile event, Melody remained composed in public, moving forward without complaint. But privately she began questioning where she truly stood on his list of priorities. That doubt deepened during what was meant to be a casual conversation about relationships and trust. Melody opened up about her history with dishonesty and manipulation, especially in her marriage, expecting understanding or at least a listening ear. Instead, Hill reportedly shifted the focus to himself, discussing his own frustrations and struggles. For Melody, it wasn't just the lack of empathy, it was the subtle feeling that he wasn't really listening at all, merely waiting for his turn to speak. Then came the whispers from people in her circle, suggesting that Hill's charm and charisma in public often masked a very different private persona, one that could be dismissive and self-serving when the cameras weren't rolling. At first, Melody didn't want to believe it. At first, Melody brushed it all aside. After all, Hill had always been respectful toward her, or so she believed. But those small moments started stacking up. One missed meeting might be easy to excuse, and a single awkward conversation could be overlooked, but when patterns begin to emerge, they're hard to ignore. Quietly, Melody began connecting the dots. She didn't unfollow him or make a public scene. Instead, she simply stepped back, keeping things cordial while creating distance. For months, she pulled away in that subtle, deliberate way she's known for avoiding unnecessary drama, especially with someone whose public image was as polished and respected as Hill's. But then came the moment that changed everything. The breaking point, according to multiple sources, arrived at a high-profile industry mixer in Atlanta earlier this year. Melody attended to network, promote a new venture, and connect with other key figures in the room. Hill was there too, and, from the outside, it should have been a perfect opportunity for them to show mutual support. Instead, witnesses say Hill acted as if she wasn't even there, no acknowledgement as a friend, peer, or past collaborator. That indifference didn't just sting, it confirmed every quiet doubt Melody had been collecting over the months. Witnesses at the Atlanta mixer say Hill barely offered Melody more than a polite nod before retreating into a tight circle of political and entertainment insiders. One attendee even remarked it was as if he didn't want to be seen with her in that environment, a strange shift considering their previously friendly public interactions. The night took an even sharper turn when a potential sponsor for one of Melody's upcoming events approached Hill to ask about her, instead of delivering the kind of strong, supportive endorsement most would expect. Sources say his reply was lukewarm, vague, and noticeably non-committal, almost dismissive. For Melody, that moment was the final straw. She had believed they were on the same wavelength, only to realize that when it truly counted, Hill didn't have her back. The sting wasn't just about public embarrassment, it was the deeper recognition that she might be dealing with someone who valued her presence only when it served his interests. A pattern she'd seen before in both business and personal relationships, and one she refused to let repeat. But the blow didn't end there. In the days after the event, Melody allegedly received screenshots of comments Hill had made in private group chats. While not outright disrespectful, the messages hinted that he had been quietly downplaying their connection to others. For a woman who prides herself on honesty and transparency, that was the tipping point. The carefully crafted image she had of Hill as a loyal ally was starting to unravel, and this time, she couldn't unsee it. At first, Melody kept her frustrations within a small circle of trusted friends, but as whispers of tension began trickling online, fueled by fans noticing the sudden lack of interaction between her and Hill, she knew it was only a matter of time before the questions came directly. And with Melody, if she chooses to speak publicly, it's never by accident. She doesn't air grievances without evidence, and she doesn't call someone out unless she's truly finished with them. This time was no different. When she decided to address the situation, she didn't resort to a messy, name-dropping tirade. Instead, she chose a more calculated approach, one that would spark conversation without her even having to say his name. The days leading up to her now viral interview were carefully orchestrated, marked by cryptic social media posts, flashes of subtle shade, and one particular Instagram story that fans are still analyzing to this day. Melody has always been a master of communicating volumes without over-explaining. Her tone, her timing, and her precise choice of words often say more than any direct accusation could. The first breadcrumb came when she posted a simple black background Instagram story with white text that read, "Pay attention to how people treat you when the cameras aren't rolling." Within minutes of that first cryptic post, Melody's followers were flooding her DMs, asking outright if it was about Hill Harper. She neither confirmed nor denied, but the timing lined up almost perfectly with the Atlanta mixer where he had allegedly brushed her off. 2 days later came another subtle shot, a short video of Melody striding confidently into a meeting, captioned, "I don't compete for positions. I either have the seat or I'll build my own table." It was classic Melody, poised, self-assured, and quietly defiant, a message that felt equal parts flex and warning to anyone who might try to diminish her value. But the post that truly ignited fan speculation was a throwback photo of her with a group of industry friends, no Hill in sight, paired with the pointed caption, "Some connections feed your soul, others drain it. Choose wisely." The comments section exploded as fans tagged Hill's account and debated whether he was the draining connection in question. Around the same time, Melody began liking tweets that hinted at betrayal and disappointment. One read, "When someone only shows up when it benefits them, they're not a friend, they're a user." Another said, "Silence doesn't mean I don't see what you're doing." She offered no explanations, but her audience didn't need them, they read between the lines. Then came the live stream, the moment that sent speculation into overdrive. For about 15 minutes, Melody discussed her upcoming ventures. But when a viewer asked if she and Hill were still cool, she paused, gave a knowing smirk, and replied, "Let's just say he wasn't who I thought he was." No elaboration, no examples, just enough for that single clip to be reposted across social media within hours, lighting up the internet with theories. Within hours, clips from Melody's live stream were plastered across multiple fan pages, with viewers dissecting every smirk, pause, and carefully chosen word. Some defended Hill, arguing the comment could have been aimed at anyone. Others were certain it was a direct shot, especially in light of the cryptic posts she'd dropped in the days leading up to it. But if that live stream was the spark, the real explosion came a week later in an interview that removed all lingering doubt, without her ever saying his name. Sitting down with a popular culture and entertainment podcast, Melody faced a host known for bold, unfiltered questions. The tension was palpable from the moment they went live. Fans tuned in en masse, waiting for her to finally confirm what they'd suspected all along. About halfway through, the host leaned in and asked, "Melody, there's been a lot of chatter about a certain well-known actor and public figure, someone you were connected to who maybe didn't turn out to be who you thought they were. Care to clear that up?" Melody didn't flinch. She took a deliberate breath, met the camera head-on and said, "Listen, I'm all about giving people the benefit of the doubt. I believe in building connections based on mutual respect. But sometimes people present one version of themselves when the lights are on and another when they think no one's watching. I'm not interested in fake alignments. I'm not interested in performative friendships. And when I see someone's character doesn't match who they claim to be, I step away." The host, clearly fishing for a name, pushed further, and that's when things got even more telling. "So you're saying this person wasn't genuine with you?" The host pressed. Melody's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. "Let's just say the person you see on TV isn't always the person you get in real life." That single line was enough to send the live chat into a frenzy, Hill Harper's name flooding the feed in real time. Some fans argued her choice of words, "the person you see on TV," could only refer to someone with a significant television career, while others insisted it might be aimed at another public figure entirely. Still, given the timing, the social media shade, and the pointed context of the question. Most were convinced it was about Hill. What made the moment even more cutting was Melody's composure. She wasn't angry or bitter, just calm, almost serene, as if she'd already made peace with her decision but wanted her truth, or at least her perspective, to be clear. Within minutes of the interview airing, clips spread across social media. Melody is too classy to spill tea directly, but we know exactly who she's talking about, one fan account tweeted. Another wrote, "She said what she said, and we're not mad at it." On Instagram, the podcast's page was swarmed with thousands of comments tagging Hill and demanding a response. 2 days later, he appeared to oblige, sort of. Hill posted a cryptic quote to his own social media. "Sometimes silence is the best response to nonsense." He never named Melody, but the timing was impossible for fans to ignore. Was it a dismissal, a denial, or just a conveniently vague motivational post dropped at the most suspicious moment possible? Regardless, the tension had officially gone public, and both seemed content to let the speculation swirl. But the interview was only the spark, because behind the scenes, more voices in the industry were starting to step forward with their own accounts, and some of those stories were about to change the conversation entirely. What emerged next painted Hill in a way that aligned a little too closely with what Melody had hinted at. Once her interview clip went viral, it felt like a starting pistol for a conversation that had been simmering under the surface. Within days, anonymous DMs began flooding popular gossip pages from people claiming to have had eerily similar experiences with Hill Harper stories that echoed the traits Melody had so carefully and subtly called out. An entertainment publicist, posting anonymously, wrote, "Hill's a brilliant speaker and knows how to work a crowd, but he's strategic with his connections. If he doesn't see a long-term benefit, he'll keep you at arm's length." Another, allegedly a former event coordinator, recalled inviting him to a panel alongside other well-known personalities. He was enthusiastic at first, but ghosted the team when a bigger opportunity came along. None of it was illegal or scandalous, just calculated moves that left a bad taste in people's mouths. These accounts began surfacing across multiple platforms, unverified yet oddly consistent, and fans started threading together screenshots, posts, and old interviews, searching for cracks in Hill's polished public image. Through it all, Melody remained steady. No backpedaling, no messy reveals, just her usual stream of motivational posts, public appearances, and business updates. She never mentioned Hill again, but her silence spoke volumes. A line had been drawn, and she wasn't looking back. What makes this story so compelling isn't just the fallout between two high-profile names. It's the way it peeled back the curtain on a world where image and reality don't always align. What this saga truly exposes goes beyond a spat between two public figures. It's a sharp reminder of how image and reality can exist in completely different worlds within the entertainment industry. On screen, at red carpet events, and in curated media appearances, people can seem polished, magnetic, and flawless. But behind the scenes, the dynamics can shift. And the version you meet in private may be nothing like the one beaming under the spotlight. For Melody Shari, the takeaway was crystal clear. Protect your energy, safeguard your connections, and never hesitate to walk away from any relationship, professional or personal, that doesn't align with your values. For Hill Harper, whether he meant to or not, the entire situation has placed his interactions under a microscope, prompting questions about just how genuine those public smiles really are. And as for the fans, they've been left to pick a side. And judging by the tide of social media commentary, a large number are firmly in Melody's corner. Her ability to be direct without ever dropping a name struck a chord with anyone who's experienced the sting of discovering someone wasn't who they claimed to be.